All right. Good afternoon, guys.
Hello.
We are at our kitchen table, doing a puzzle today. But today we're not going to necessarily do what we've normally done. We have finished the book of Esther, but Morgan and I were kind of talking, and there's one part of Esther that we kind of left out. So we want to share that with you today. But we're going to be talking about your legacy today. Basically, your legacy is what you want to be known for. What do you want to be remembered by? At the end of your life, what's something that you want people to say about you? And so as we get to that today, we want you to think about this question. Who do you want to be like? It can be a real person, or it can be a fake person. It can be somebody from a movie or a show you watch, or it could be somebody in your life that you see and you watch and you go, I want to be like them when I grow up. So Morgan and I have two people that we kind of hope that we can strive to be like. Mine is a fictional character. Hers is going to actually be a real person. But mine is from the movie 12. It's a movie on Amazon Prime. I think Dakota has seen it. Maybe some of you have seen it. It's a really good movie. It's about a kid that plays Little League Baseball. He moves into a new town, has a really good season, and then doesn't make the All-Star team. Basically because the coach is just not a very nice guy. But anyway, the dad in the story, in the movie, is a dad that really cares about his kids. He's got an older son as well. But he takes the moment to show his kid that, like, you got to work hard for things, and that sometimes life isn't going to always be fair, but you got to push forward to do it. And the dad does a really good job of not necessarily pushing his kids to, like, play sports all the time, but he does a good job of encouraging them to learn a lot about life through those things as well. And so that's something that for me personally I want to do with our kids, with Jameson and Drew. I want them to not necessarily have everything handed to them in life, for them to know that they got to work for things, but also just the attitude that the dad had during the whole time. It wasn't like he got real upset with the other coach and things like that. But also his kids were really good at something, and he had taught them how to be a humble person throughout it. The kid becomes like the greatest Little League player of all time, but he's not real cocky about it or not real arrogant about it. Instead, he's pretty humble about all of it. So that's the dad in the movie is who I want to strive for. I want to be a dad that's really involved with their kids' life and helps them learn a lot about life as well. So, Morgan?
Mine, like Josh said, is a real person. I coach with her at volleyball. My person would be Kelly Zinder, and she is just someone that I have looked up to as a coach for years, and I have really enjoyed learning under her for the last 4 years, I think, at the high school level. And she just has so much love and intensity, and like for the game of volleyball, and then she just has like this huge passion and desire to win, but not just win, but work for it and be the best. No matter what kind of talent people may think we have, her expectations never change for our team. Her goal was not just to win the league or win so many games in our season. Her goal was to always make it to state, and that is something that I've always admired about her. She doesn't let anything stop her from setting high expectations and then expecting you to work for it. And she has this way of making you want to work for it. Even as a coach, I'm like, she gets me all fired up. So I love that about her. I love how much passion she puts into anything she does, whether it is being a mom, or being a coach, lifting, taking care of herself, all of those things. She just does it with such passion, and with being very intentional with what she does and how she does it and how she spends her time. And so I love that, and that's something I want to aspire to be more like and do more in my life. So.
Right. And so the reason we're on this topic is, as we ended the book of Esther, one of the things that we felt like we wanted to really draw attention to is the end. At the end of the book of Esther, there's this moment in chapter 10 where it literally goes on to talk about Mordecai's life and talks about how important he was and how much people enjoyed Mordecai and how he became a person of leadership and that he was a great leader and all of these different things. And so really the story ends with sharing the legacy of Mordecai, that he was a person he is known for. We go back now and read about him as a guy that was willing to have faith, to stay true to his faith, even in moments where it was going to be really difficult. And so Mordecai is a guy that's probably known, we read a lot about him, but at the end of the day, he is famous for just being a faithful person. And so that's the legacy that he left. It's not that he was a person that was crying at the city gate because he was about to be killed, but at the end of the day, it's because of how faithful he is. That's what he's known for. And so that's one part of, in the story of a legacy that's left, and then Morgan's going to share with you about another one.
Esther herself obviously leaves a big legacy, and that's probably one of the reasons that we get to read her story and learn from her in the Bible. It's a reason why it was included, I think. So Esther was not necessarily dealt like the easiest life. You may think of her, well, she was a queen and she had, the king did appreciate her and respect her, so she didn't have that bad of a life. But I mean, if you think about it, she was raised by her cousin. Her cousin Mordecai. And so you got to ask yourself, what kind of a situation had she been put into or born into that would happen? We don't know what happened to her parents. We don't know if they left her or if they died. We don't know the situation, but she could have chosen to follow many different paths throughout her life. However, probably in part to her cousin, she chose to stay faithful, and she did follow God. And then even once she was in, like we talked about a few weeks ago, even once she was in her role as queen, she still didn't get the easiest, life, as far as she had to fight for her people. And she had to be brave and take chances and risks and not know what was going to happen, but she trusted God through it. So just the legacy that she leaves is one of being reliant on God and trusting him through the uncertainty in her life. So I think it's a big important thing that we can take away from her life and her story.
Right. And so we just want to encourage you guys that even in your lives, I mean, we don't know everything that goes on in your lives, but sometimes maybe things don't go necessarily the way that you want them to, or maybe you feel like the life that you've been given is kind of not the same as other people. Don't let that define you. There's definitely much more that you can achieve and establish your legacy for and be known for. And so we got one other question for you. We want you to think about, at the end of your life, if somebody was say, you compare to this person from the Bible, who would you want that person to be? And you can't say Jesus, because that's what we're all striving for, so we don't want you to say that one. So what is a person in the Bible that you would be like, okay, at the end of my life, I hope somebody says I'm kind of like this person? For me, I'll give this answer. We don't know much about this person at all. He's literally in, I think, one verse of the Bible. But what he does is pretty cool. And you've probably heard me share this before. But I would want to be the kid in the story of the feeding of the 5,000. Because what he does is I don't know if the disciples ripped it out of his hands or what, but he's willing to let them have his lunch, which is a couple fish and some bread. And it's not a lot. But it's this idea that whatever he had to offer, he gave it all. And so I hope at the end of my life that people says, okay, Josh gave his everything for everything that he strived for. He gave everything for his family. He gave everything for God. He gave everything for the church, whatever it is. And even if it's not a lot, Josh was always, I hope that people can say that Josh always gave everything he had. And so that's my answer. Do you have one, Morgan?
Oh, sure. Okay, so, I don't know as much about this character as I probably could or should, but lately I've learned different things about her, and I think that, it's a pretty cool story, and that would be Mary Magdalene. I think it's Mary Magdalene. She's the one that Jesus appears to, right? Okay. But she had demons cast out of her, and that was one of the, I think that was her turning point where she decided to like follow Jesus. So she wasn't a perfect person. She definitely had her baggage in her past. But you know, her life was radically changed by God, by Jesus. And then she followed him. It also, somewhere in the Bible tells us, don't ask me, I'll figure it out if you ask me. But somewhere it tells us that she like came from money. She had money. And so she definitely could have chosen many different paths and different ways to spend that money. And she used it to be a disciple. She used it to follow God, follow Jesus, and help fund his ministry, if you will. And she followed him as any of the other 12 disciples, 12 apostles that you think of. She was always there, and she was there the day after, or the couple days after he died. She was going to tend to him in the tomb, and she was the first person that he appeared to. And she got to go spread the good news. So I would love to be able, for people to be able to look back and say, you know, Morgan, she may not have had this perfect past. She may not have had this perfect story. But no matter what was given to her, she chose to use that to fund the ministry of Christ, if you will. So I guess that would be mine. I don't know.
All right, good answer. Well, guys, we miss you. We hope that you're
So
doing
much.
well. We're tired of sitting at our table doing puzzles.
This is the first puzzle we've done. I'm pretty happy about it.
I'm already tired of it. But hopefully Baby Drew will come soon, and maybe next time or the time after that, we'll do one of these videos. Baby Drew will be in it. So that would be kind of exciting. But we miss you guys. We hope that you're doing well. If you get some time, answer our questions. We'd love to hear from you. See you guys.
Love you. Bye. Ew.